So this is just a short video to discuss how it is that we can take verbs in their infinitive form, like is in this column over here, and turn them into past participles. That is, how do we talk about the past? How do we say I have and I had? How do we talk about the past? So in this case, on this column, as we said, we have all of these verbs in their infinitive form. That is the form that if you look them up in the dictionary, that's how you're going to find them. Online dictionaries like Canoe and Leo will let you search for verbs under their past participle, their already changed form. However, say you're in an exam and you only have access to a hard copy dictionary, it means that you're a bit more limited in what you can actually look up and what you've got to work with. In this case, we're going to discuss how it is that we can get around some of those issues. It's worth noting that your dictionary, your standard hard copy dictionary, will have a section in the back for a verb table that will show you often how to conjugate verbs or tell you when certain verbs are regular or irregular verbs. That will often provide you with both the infinitive as well as the past participle, but it varies from dictionary to dictionary and can vary from brand to brand. So keep this in mind that this rule, in this case, is just for regular verbs. Now over here, as I said, I have my infinitives. But what I want to do first is to break those down a little bit more because I'm going to need to take a certain part of them for this principle, for this formula I have up the top here. Ge plus stem plus t. Well, how do I figure out what my stem actually is? That's going to be my first issue. In this case with the infinitives, we have a stem and an ending on each verb. So here we have haben, to have, sagen, to say, bauen, to build, wollen, to want, kochen, to cook or to boil. In this case, I'm going to need to break them down into the stem and into the ending. The ending is the easiest bit to find. The majority of verbs in German in their infinitive form are going to end in en. Easy to remember, ending en. So we have haben, sagen, bauen, wollen, kochen. In this case, the en is pretty easy to find. What I'm left with is the stem of the verb. So in this case, hab, sag, bau, woll, koch. Those are my stems. So in this case, what I can do is automatically fill in this table with the GE because that's going to be the first part of our rule, first part of our recipe for building the past participle, a GE in each of the columns there. Now that I've figured out that these are my stems, that the blue highlighted sections are my stems, it means I can start to put those into each of these columns. So for example, we start off with ge, I can add in hab. To finish it off, I can go haben, gehab, gehabt. Haben, gehabt. Sagen, to say, gesagt. Sagen, gesagt, gesagt. Bauen, gebau. Bauen, gebaut. You're probably starting to see how easy it is, and once you've learnt to apply this recipe, how regular it can become for you when using, well, regular verbs. That once you've learnt the process, you can start to do it pretty quickly. I bet you can probably guess the next two now just by having done these ones. So we take the stem again, gewoll, gewollt. And for our final one there, kochen, gekocht, gekocht. So that's a really easy way to approach this system using that principle of ge plus stem plus t. The other way that you can use this is actually by going backwards with it. So let's say you've come across a text and you want to use this entire principle for something you've just come across new. Let's say you're doing a written piece and there's a sentence in there, Alex hat Peter gefragt. Okay, let's assume that that's the sentence and you've never seen gefragt before. Let's say you've never seen the past participle gefragt before. Peter hat Alex hat Peter gefragt, or Peter hat Alex gefragt. Either way, what is it that Alex did to Peter? Peter being the person that something is happening to. What is that? It's a mystery until we figure out what gefragt means. So let's go backwards with this. I can break it down to say, well, I found my ge, I found my ge, and I found my ending there. I'm left with that stem in the middle, frag, gefragt, frag, gefragt. But this section in the middle here I can tell is going to be my stem. The verb stem has suddenly become quite clear. Now using that rule we looked at before, it's not 100%, but if it's the case of trying to figure out what infinitive this has come from, if it's likely to be an en ending, it means that I have a better chance at being able to guess it. If I can say, well, chances are it's likely to be en, I can have a go at it, I can have a crack, and likely chances I might be able to find that in the dictionary. Either way, if you start off by looking for frag in the dictionary, you're most likely going to be able to figure out that the ending of frag is fragen in its infinitive, and you'll be able to figure out what that is from your hard copy dictionary. Let's say it's an exam and you needed to know that Alex had asked Peter, but you couldn't figure out what fragen was, couldn't figure out what gefragt was. If you break it down and move backwards, it means you have a better chance of being able to find the infinitive, find it in your dictionary, and solve that issue that you've been confronted with. So stem, frag, ending, en, fragen. The system of ge+stem+t works both ways and is a really good problem-solving technique for you to have there up your sleeve, in your back pocket, ready to apply in sort of everyday speech. Keep your eyes out for irregular verbs because they follow a similar recipe, but hence the name irregular. They have some exceptions in them. They can be a bit more tricky. But for regular verbs, this is a fantastic way to approach them, keeping that ge+stem+t model in mind.